Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Donington Park, the opening round of the Pro SIMRIG Super Touring 2024 Series. It is a perfect acceleration sim racing. I've got to say that because it's easier than me saying PASR. I get called a pirate when I say it. Sponsored by Pro SIMRIG. My name is Chris Dawes. Delighted to say that we'll have Zach Sweeney joining me in a second, but got to give a big shout out Tom O'Farrell from 2F Media Productions. He's the broadcast director and he works so hard in the background. Not like that Mick Sutton for PASR, but only joking, Mick. He's the series organizer, he's the main man. And tonight he is actually working because he's on the safety car as well. So good luck out there. Hopefully we don't see you out there, Mick. No disrespect, mate, but we don't want the safety car. We want the racing. This is my first foray into the PASR various online competitions, but that's because mainly I've been so busy with commentating here, there and everywhere that I've missed these guys, and I'm delighted to be out here for this. These are the cars that we're going to see: the Fortix Mando, the Gajira Ascent, the Pajot 46, the Renoir Lagoon, the Vorex Vector. I don't know what you mean, Your Honour. They're absolutely wonderful cars, and we're going to see them out here for this Super Touring Series. You can see that they are front-wheel drive, the horsepower between 311 to 320, and their top speed of anything between 272 and 278 kilometres per hour. So might be a variant in top speed, but there'll be variants on how they handle as well. But you can see it only takes 5 to 5.5 seconds to get up to that 100 kilometres per hour. So it's going to be a very interesting races, should I say, because we're going to be qualifying at the moment. The drivers are already out there pounding the laps in, and we're then going to have 2 sprint races today, and they will be both 18 lap races for this one here around the Donington Park GP circuit. So we're doing the full Melbourne loop. In 2 weeks' time, we've got the Silverstone GP circuit where we'll have 23 laps around the full circuit and a mandatory pit stop as well. 2 8-lap races around Spa-Francorchamps. Then we go to Brands Hatch. People are looking forward to this. It's the Indy circuit, but it's at night. 50-lap race with, understandably, a pit stop. I don't think that's mandatory in terms of the rules. I think that's mandatory from the cars. Then we move on to Imola for a 29-lap race with a pit stop. Then my local circuit, where I started my commentary career, 2 20-lap races around the very quick Castle Coombe circuit. Penultimate round goes to Croft, which I've seen quite a few people have said is the one they're looking forward to the most. Day before my birthday, that one as well. 2 18-lap races. And then we round out the full championship, 33-lap race, including a pit stop around the Oulton Park International Circuit. That's not until January, though. So plenty to go on between now and the climax of this championship, and plenty to go on this evening. As I say, qualifying still underway with just under 15 minutes still to go in that. But I'm delighted to say that it isn't only me, it's someone who does know this race that's going to be joining me. 2 seconds before I do that, Zach, I forgot this part. There are prizes for this championship. This is the important part. This is the part the drivers care about. The winner of the outright championship gets a Pro SIMRIG PSR 1 with a choice of wheel bracket to go with it. Second place gets the PSR 3 version of the Pro SIMRIG, and then a monitor stand for the Pro SIMRIG if you come in 3rd place in the championship. At the end of the season, there is a raffle as well, and that to enter that, it's they can't finish in the top 6 places because they obviously get some of the big prizes already. They needed to have competed in all the rounds and have a clean record, shall we say. And if they match that, they enter the raffle. One person gets the PSR for the Pro SIMRIG. Driver of the round, you've seen the advert a minute ago. 3M UK Sim gloves are going to be provided. 3M, globally recognised bespoke racewear, leisurewear and teamwear brand, and that is for their particular gloves that they will be providing to nominated driver of the round. So we wouldn't normally talk about the championship standings at this stage, but obviously it's round number 1, so we don't have anything like that. But I will start again. I started, I will finish. Zach Sweeney is joining me tonight. Good evening, Zach. You all right, mate?
Yeah, I got there in the end.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's all good. All good. Hello and welcome, everyone. Hope you are all having a fantastic evening at home. I'm super stoked for this championship, Chris. I'm sure you are as well, but sort of just looking at the entry list, looking at the cars we've got, looking at the calendar we've got, and the prizes up for grabs as well. I mean, there's some serious dosh involved in terms of the prizes that we've got. I mean, some serious upgrades to your SIMRIG, but then also sort of take away the end goal and just look at the journey and look at that entry list that we've got. Some obviously recognizable names from the world of PASR and real life racing as well. Maybe the likes of Nikki Taylor, a Clear Cup GB driver, drove minis a couple of years ago as well. And that is pretty much the theme all the way through. Carl Felvis, P4 as well, at the moment in this qualifying session. He has won multiple championships here at PASR, just again to show you the level of driver and competition that we've got. Couple that with probably some of the funnest cars on the sim entirely. I reckon we've got a few months of fun in store for the Super Touring 2024 Sim Series.
I'm glad that you had to have a run up for that as well.
Yeah, no, so it's a mouthful. It's fine. It's not the worst I've had, but it's try saying it 5 times fast, and it's not going to work.
No, I've failed miserably. I'm not even going to attempt that one. I've got my gin and tonic on the go. Those that have heard me commentating on sim stuff in the past will know I've always got a gin and tonic on the go. Unfortunately, I've still not been able to sort out getting optics into the commentary boxes in the real world. They won't let that happen for some reason.
Really?
No, don't know why.
I don't usually have a problem with my Pepsi Max. My Pepsi Max gets through quite all right. Maybe you need to disguise it in some fruit shoot bottles. Just, add a couple of drops, get
You're
through.
giving away my secrets, Zach. Shush.
That's fine. That's what they don't know that can't happen. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly right. Cracking to see this. I noticed that I hope to come back at Donington Park again this year in the real world, but I have been a good few times. And you were there for the historic. It's really a cracking circuit, isn't it? And the bravery where we just see Cornelius going down through the crane of curves at the moment. I mean, it is a real grip it and rip it circuit, especially at this part. Plus, round the old hairpin, which has got to be the worst name for a corner ever because it's not a hairpin.
And it never was.
No.
So, interestingly enough, but it's fine. It's not the worst named corner in the world. That's when you go over to the States and they've got turns 10A, 10B, 10C, and 10D. We won't go into that because that's a whole nother debate. Maybe if it sort of dies down in the middle part of the race, that's then when we start to rant about corner names. But you're right, yeah. Donington is... I mean, it's crazy. It was where I sort of first took my step into a real-life MSV circuit, sort of a big circuit in terms of commentary and media. And I have to say, I was astonished. Like, commentate on it in the sim is one thing, and I've always loved coming to Donington as a driver and as a commentator, but then to go in the real life and see the undulation changes, and then also with some historic cars. Of course, we had the Bentley Speed 8 doing a demo run that week, and as soon as I heard it, I sprinted. We were sort of in that main paddock. I sprinted to the crane of curves because I just had to see it. This circuit has just got so much history, and it's just so much fun. It's one of those circuits that you can jump into any car from any year and do half an hour by yourself and have a blast. That's what I love about Donington. And also beyond that, it's got some pretty good raceability as well. So I think with a big grid, with some talented drivers, we've got a good pair of races in store.
Yeah, and I've got to credit the team because it is a cracking grid out there. What we got, 21 cars, although Farrell's not actually circulated as yet. But it is a cracking grid. I know that we've been chatting about track limits is going to be an issue. In the usual spot, in fairness, into the Fogarty S's, which is right at the end of what I call the exhibition straight these days, which I think they will get pinged rather than be destroyed, that we've seen recently by overshooting the chicanes at Donington Park. But it's one that they've kind of made a lot harder to cut these days in the real world. But here, I think you can inadvertently do it, and you will get a penalty for it.
Yeah, especially in Assetto Corsa. Maybe it's a skill issue on my part, but the Fogarty S's has always been just that corner that either nail or it completely goes wrong and ruins my lap. It's so tempting to take just that little bit too much speed through, and it's not usually the first bit, it's that second bit. Usually you try and turn in quite early. We'll probably ride on board with Jake Wardle, see how he's taken through the Fogarty S's. You usually want to brake probably about that second braking board, just after, maybe down a couple of gears, turn quite early to try and straight line the exit. But the problem arises on that AstroTurf on the inside as Wardle shows you how not to take the exit. that's usually where the issues arise. They are monitored pretty much everywhere else on the circuit, but the great thing about Donington is that if you go off the track, you pretty much instantly get penalised anyway because you can't really gain time from doing it. So Fokker TSs are going to be interesting, but these guys, they'll be on their best behaviour probably.
Well, we'll see. I like your blind optimism there, Zach, but they'll be these drivers. They'll always push the limit, won't they? And I think we saw when we were on with Wardle then just why they might push it at that point is that it's flat, isn't it? The curbs are flat. There's no bollard, tyre tracks, the apexes or anything like that. Which in the real world they'll come a cropper. I've seen GT cars go bouncing over there, which just ejects you into the kippy litter. So it's kind of almost tempting you to cut it just that little bit too much. I'm not sure whether they get done with going to the exit as much. I mean, I would imagine it is still going to be a track limits issue. I know there's been discussion that turn one, they're kind of allowing that to possibly get away with it. Old Hairpin's another place where they often get pinged in the real world. So it'll be interesting to see what they do at this point as well. So there's a few places, isn't there? Interestingly, this coming down this part, I think a lot of people, the final corner round Goddard's and onto the start-finish straight, we see a lot of people run out wide there. But frankly, I think that hurts you more than a time penalty normally. So maybe we'll get away with that one. But at the moment, it looks like Nathan Williams, and I have to say this, apologies, Zach, I know you were just about to say something. Nathan Williams at the top, I noticed in the free practice before this qualifying session, he was at the top as well. But what I'm loving is just how close it was. I mean, Nathan Williams had a 132.6 in practice just a moment ago. He's metronomically got down to 132.8 this time. But Nicky Taylor was only a little bit back on a 133.216 with someone else about 0.022 behind them. I mean, it is seriously close.
It very much is. Obviously, Nathan Williams, you might recognise him. He's our 2023 Ginetta Junior Official E-Series champion. So something about PASR and long-winded series names is something that goes hand in hand, I think. But obviously, that's running now, 2024. We just had our first round last Thursday. Nathan Williams, of course, managed to take top honours last season and is now continuing his racing career. Very different, though, the Ginetta jumping into than a touring car. So it's nice to see that adaptability and that versatility from Nathan Williams to jump from, a rear-wheel drive sports car, quite a short wheelbase, to a fairly longer front-wheel drive touring car, and to still sort of showcase that success in both, disciplines of driving. And at the moment, 7/10. I mean, it's a technical circuit, Donington, don't get me wrong, so maybe we are going to expect some, slightly larger gaps, but 7/10 over a driver like Nicky Taylor, that's when you know it's been a good lap. And Nathan Williams is probably, I have to say, going to be the favourite coming into this. But the important thing is that as we've been talking about 18 laps and things like that, it's not a mandatory stop, but the way the tyres work, front-wheel drive, of course, killing the front tyres, it's going to be a strategy game, even if they don't come into the pits. There's going to be conservation, there's going to be tyre wear discussions at play, tyre choice discussions at play. It's not just about getting in the car and driving quickly, and maybe that could be where the rest of the fields jump in and close the gap.
Yeah, I mean, the Taylors, am I right in assuming that the Taylors are brothers? Jordan and Nicky Taylor? No relation at all. Okay, thank you for that. Fair enough. And I've just clocked that we've got Nathan Williams has gone a little bit quick again to 132.719. But the Taylors were 0.022 apart from each other in second and third. Oh, but Felvis has just suddenly gone up into second place, 133.359. So the number one car of Carl Felvis in the HFT racing car jumps up into the front of the flow at the moment, right? Well, I say towards the end, we've still got 3.5 minutes left to go. So there's a good handful of laps that they're going to be able to put in. Then it is Nicky Taylor in the 117 car, followed by number 19, Jordan Taylor. Both of those two in the Graves Motorsport Run cars. And they're both in the Gojira Ascent. There's no wonder I thought they were related, because they've copied everything else, haven't they, at the moment? But at the moment, you've got the 19 car of Jordan Taylor there circulating around. A busy circuit, even though it's the GP circuits, that they're all sort of congregating on one sort of end of the circuit, really, aren't they?
Yes, you've sort of got that run from the old hairpin all the way up to McLean's, where it's just dead space, and then everyone else
Mm.
sort of just, yeah, as you say, congregated together, which is interesting because Donington Park isn't a circuit I'd particularly associate with slipstream, which obviously is usually why you'd see people maybe bunch up. But of course, it is a busy circuit. Maybe that's just the natural order of things, is that maybe people are bunched up. Hopefully, it's not going to cause too many dramas in terms of issues with traffic and things. Maybe it just helps these drivers to have a reference in front of them, maybe something to go and catch. I know I always love sort of someone to catch or reference to have, but to sort of base how good my lap is if I don't have the delta on. So maybe something to do with that. I mean, again, it's a busy circuit, so the probability is you are going to be close with someone. Haven't seen many issues though in terms of people getting laps being sort of forced to be aborted though, so no major dramas. 2 minutes left to go in the session though. Of course, if you start a lap, you are allowed to finish it. Carl Fervis being in the pit lane though doesn't scream confidence that he's going to get back out again. So he's going to be hoping that the likes of the Taylors and Henriksen behind don't improve on their laps. In fact, he is going to get out again. He probably, to be fair, he probably will be able to go for another lap. Fresh
Just one.
tyres on, he's going to want to really impress on that lap because he's got a 6/10 deficit if he wants to get pole.
That's one opportunity, won't he? So there's nothing like putting pressure on yourself, eh?
That's fine. You've got to perform,
Yeah,
mate.
exactly. Yeah, it's all good. We love it. We love it. So the full drive will be going for one out lap and then one fly-in lap. The 000 car, that's Salvadori because he didn't get his livery in just yet. But Josh Salvadori in the Vortex Mando. Are you finding it difficult, Zach, to make sure we don't say the lane we're not allowed to say for the cars?
Don't you, mate? I'm only 18. I've got no clue what these cars are meant to be called, so I'm just going off.
Oh,
I'm going off the mods.
They just made me feel proper old then.
I just go. It's front wheel drive. It goes quick. It's a race car. That's all I care about.
Oh, I can't believe that, but it's from the cracking touring car days. I had the privilege of being at Brands Hatch earlier this year, cover Super Touring Power Live 2, which was just a cracking event to be on the comms for, and it just keeps growing. So it's good to see the heyday of the touring cars, and it's kind of harks back to that we've got here out for these. And it is a mix, although the majority seem to have gone for the Vortex Mando, and we can see. In fact, there's another one. Even Peter Cornelius has gone with the making sure I don't say it, Vortex Mando. He's down in 13th position in the number 22 car, but it's Williams still at the top, 132.7. He hasn't improved on that one for a little while. Felver's still in second, but it's just so close between them that I mean, that's probably why he snuck back out again, wasn't it? In fact, I need to make sure that my timing is. I've just pressed refresh at the wrong time. Nicky Taylor in third is 0.001 behind. So that's why it's incredibly close. Oh, very wide run there from Harley Connolly, but got away with it. He's going to take the checkered flag, presumably now. Yep, so finishes in ninth place. Big one is to see whether that 1,000th of a second could be made up by Nicky Taylor. But here's Nathan Williams, your pole sitter at 132.719. Doesn't improve on it this time, but look how close that was. 132.749 compared to the 719. So metronomic performance there by Nathan Williams. Kieran Tugby decides that the time is not going to be quick enough, so just darts into the pits. Nicky Taylor, I'm just keeping half an eye on that one as well. Luke Simpler takes the checkered flag, doesn't improve that time. Carl Felvis still in second place at the moment and is not going to improve on this time, judging from those splits. So the one flying lap just didn't quite work, but Nicky Taylor, here we go. No, and Nicky knows not able to improve this time round, but 1,000th of a second is the margin. It's absolutely incredible. And then it's only 0.091 further back for Jordan Taylor. So we know where the main fight's going to be. But Nathan Williams, with that fantastic pole position, I did, as I say, see him go 132.6 earlier, and he's gone a 132.719. So I think we'll allow that. It's pretty darned close. I was almost worrying with that livery that we might not see him. That's camo, isn't it?
What car are you talking about?
Yeah. Fully camouflaged. We can't see it. It just disappears before our eyes.
which, based on his lap times in qualifying, he might well do coming into this race. We'll see. The interesting thing, though, is, of course, the start of this race. I know it's obvious, but front-wheel drive, they're always tricky to start, but 6.5 tenths is a good margin to have.
Really is. So qualifying is over, and Nathan Williams has joined us. Can you hear us, Nathan?
Yeah. Hello.
Congratulations, a fantastic pole position there. And I was talking about, I took a sneaky peek at you in the practice just before, and it was just metronomically around the sort of 32.6, 32.7 mark. And you've done it again, but you clearly can't rest on your laurels because they're not that far behind you, are they?
Yeah, I think especially, I know the people behind me, like Carl, Jordan, Nicky, I know they have more in the laps as well. I've seen them get 33 flats. So yeah, you can't rest. I know the gap and I know the slipstream is very effective as well. So it's going to be very difficult to bring a gap.
I did wonder that. So the slipstream is effective here then. Where's the key places that slipstream could come into effect?
Well, it's mainly down the straights and down the crane as well. And over a lap, it can definitely bring you up about half a second. So if the driver behind them in half a second, they can definitely stay there and even send a lunge up the inside of you.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be brave lunges, I guess, aren't they? Because we were just chatting a moment ago. If you go down the exhibition straight heading back toward Melbourne Loop and the Fogarty S's, the left-right chicane onto the Melbourne hairpin, that's not really an overtaking spot, though, is it, into there?
No, it's not really, but it definitely can be done. We've done it a bit when we've been practicing and seen some people do it, but it's very risky. Obviously, you can go for the move, but it can end quite badly for the two of you.
Yeah, absolutely, and no one wants that. Do you feel that you can really put those lap times in for the entire race? We've been hearing comments about, I think it's the front left tyre by the end of the race duration could be suffering.
Well, I don't think we get anywhere near them because we'll be on hards for most of the race, but then the tyre wear is really heavy around here to the point where some people have even been tempted by doing pit stops. So it's definitely going to be tough, and there will be about 2 to 3 seconds of degradation throughout the race.
Wow, as much as that? That's incredible. So, and actually, yeah, just picking up on that is that, yeah, you'll have all gone on presumably on softs in the qualifying, and you're now onto the hards. And yeah, the 18 laps is that they're saying it will be hard. Is it going to give away too much asking you the question whether you're planning to stop, or will that be literally dictated by the state of the tyres?
Feel the goal is to aim not to stop, but I've always got it as a backup plan if I want to. Depending on how the race is running, you can always go into the pits at the best opportunity and try and run in a bit of free air and gain time that way.
Sounds interesting. Zach, any questions from you, mate?
Are you going to win?
Yeah, I will.
Cool. Confidence. We'll see him back in half an hour then. Simples. Good luck, mate.
Thanks.
I'm a simple man with my questions. I'll just straight to the point. Straight to the point. See how got to gauge the confidence. If you take pole by 7 tenths of a second, you've got to back yourself for the win, surely.
I agree, but I mean, you know, you've heard him say we're on different tyres. We've got this tyre degradation. I mean, that's quite an incredible fall off that we're going to get. We've got the possibility of some people may have to stop for tyres if that front left in particular, fall off. Then I don't know. There's so much to play. My padlock is on my wallet. I'm not putting money anywhere. I'm telling you now.
No, I wouldn't, purely because racing does racing things quite often. This is a lovely little grid walk that we've got working our way down the field, by the way. This is Tomo Farrell. He earns his dough, doesn't he, when it comes to making the broadcast look lovely and pretty. Of course, qualifying was very, very tight, 18 laps ahead of us. And the strategy is going to be the big thing, which in a sprint race format isn't something that we typically talk about. We don't usually talk about tyre strategies and the potential for pit stops, but when you open the door with different compounds of tyres, maybe different cars having different levels of degradation, and obviously the demands of Donington, it opens the door for a very intriguing race. So like I said in qualifying, it's not just going to be get in the car and go quick. There is going to be so much more at play. And patience, I think, is going to be the big thing over the next 18 laps.
And that's the one thing that I find interesting, is that when we talk sim racing compared to the real world, is that patience can sometimes go out the window because it's not got that fraught danger, has it? And so, are they going to be patient enough? I love that, the supporting the British Marshals on that livery as well. Fantastic, British Motorsport Marshals Club, BMMC. But yeah, the patience could go out the window at times, and some of the places where we could see some unnecessary lunges. We've heard about the slipstream effect, even down through the craner curves. And if they make a damn dare lunge down the inside of the old hairpin, they can come unstuck. But if they can be patient enough to fall at almost a karting move, drop back enough to be able to take the speed through the right hand of the old hairpin, that whole drag all the way up through the crater curve, sorry, I've gone a bit early, the Schwantz curve up into the plains, they could get a job done then. I was interested to hear his comments, though, about the fact that, yes, they are prepared to make lunges into the Fogarty S's. I mean, that typically tends to be a single car funnel through there, but Nathan seems to think that moves could be possible there.
At the end of the day, it takes two to tango. If you're racing a driver that is going to respect you and you're willing to respect them, then you can pretty much get a move anywhere. Obviously, there are corners where it might be wiser to do it than others, particularly, say you get a run through the Fogarty S's, you go side by side, there's a good chance that the driver in third place in that train could get a run and go for the move into Melbourne. So it's always going to be tight, and you've got to make sure that you're ready to tackle anything that goes your way. Of course, we're about a minute away from seeing the 5 red lights pop up on your screen and send us away, but the start in of itself, we talk about the strategy in the long term of this race, but the start is one thing. Front wheel drives just have an extra element to a start than rear wheel drive cars would.
100%. And I thought I could almost hear the driver's heartbeats through my head for that there. I must be honest, they must be absolutely on edge for this. 18 laps around the full GP circuit, pole position there. Nathan Williams on the left, the black with that camo, black and white livery over it. Carl Felvis, the number one car, alongside him with the sort of purple and black livery on that one. Then it's the Taylors, Nicky Taylor and Jordan Taylor on the second row, with Albert Henriksen Bell and Thomas Potter on row 3. Joel Lask and Harry Connolly on the fourth row. Luke Sittler, Josh Salvadoro on row 5. Sixth row, Catherine Potter and Will Crewdson. I need to be careful because we're now a couple of seconds away. The lights are all on. The engine notes have risen. Off go the lights and off go the field. And here they come down towards Redgate for the first of this 18-lap fantastic battle. And it looks like Nathan Williams has got a reasonably good start there at the moment, but he's under pressure, not so much from the outside, but from behind, with Nicky Taylor trying to have a sneaky sniffer. But there's contact. All of a sudden, Felvis was there looking, I believe, at the car behind. There was a bit of contact, but he held that brilliantly, just kept his foot in to get it back into a straight line again, and it's leaving the two behind to sit side by side. And Felvis is going to look up the inside there, but not yet, not possible. We're going pretty wide, and I think that's both Taylors either side of Felvis, and that's just unsettled him. That's knocked him back behind Nicky Taylor, so into third place for Felvis. Oh, and we got going very wide there. Jordan Taylor, I think, watching everything that was going on around him, just got a little bit sidetracked, missed the breaking point there. I think this is the hectic start that we were expected to prepare, Zach.
Yeah, very much is. It's so easy to get overwhelmed, especially when there's so much going on around you and so many cars as well. Harley Connolly side by side just ahead of him, of course, Alaskan Salvatore. He's side by side himself with Jordan Taylor. This is going to get messy. Pinch point in the middle. Connolly gets sandwiched either side through the Fogarty S's. Jordan Taylor goes through, and it's caused absolute mayhem going into the Melbourne hairpin. Of course, downhill braking, and look at how busy it is. Jordan Taylor darting to the inside to try and cover off the move. Side by side with the number 8 machine, of course, that's Joel Lask trying to work his way through. It's a very busy in the background as they work their way back up the hill towards Goddard's. Nathan Williams, though, 1.3 seconds clear thanks to all this scrapping.
Yeah, I think the one that's really moved up there, I can't remember exactly where he started, but the 000 car there of Josh Salvadori, I mean, absolutely flying at the moment, up into 5th place there in that all-white car, livery to come for round number 2. And as I say that, that was a drifting moment. Did he catch that as he went through there? I think he must have done, because it doesn't suggest that it's a car off there. Although it did obviously get a bit Toby's wild ride, dropped down to 9th. So Felvis and Taylor still battling out 2nd and 3rd. But this is just... Is this just the early stage mayhem as the 16 car there of Gray trying desperately to get past Salvatore? And Wardle's now getting involved, and it does look like the age-old darned if you do, darned if you don't, because as you try to make a move, if you come unstuck on it, you're a sitting duck to the cars behind that.
And this is where the go-karters in the field are really going to sort of use their experience quite wisely, because this is their bread and butter in intense pack races where you've got to be so clever with every single input you put into the car, every decision you make. It can be sink or swim, overtake or be overtaken. Thomas Potter looks to the outside going into the Fogarty S's, of course, in that green and black machine. Breaks later, swoops his way around the outside and keeps it on the track. Nicely done to propel himself up into the top 10. Of course, he is on the medium compound tyre compared to those on the hards around him, so that disparity is going to be something to look out for as the race progresses. Sam Milner as well, just behind that. You've got Jake Wardle versus Tugby. That's gotten very touch and go. That's Will Crewdson having some issues down at the Melbourne hairpin. They are going to emerge 3 wide on the exit. And once again, it's just getting busy and busy and busy. Alfie Dean showing what not to do on lap 2 of a race.
Yeah, that's a huge shame. That looked very off into the barriers as well, that one. And I noticed that I was referring to the wrong black and green car getting involved. I said it was Jake Wardle, but it wasn't. It was the other black and green car of Thomas Potter in the Phoenix Potter's Vortex Mando. But forgive me that there's so many cars. I'm bound to make the odd mistake. I make a living out of it, frankly, in commentary boxes, if it's fine. But Nathan Williams, he can make a living out of racing by the looks of it, because he is nearly, well, he is 4 1/4, nearly 4.5 seconds clear. But look at this for second place. Nicky Taylor all over the back of Felvis at the moment. So much so that Henriksen in 42 just behind them is trying to get involved. Nicky Taylor, and I thought that was going to be a late clip up the inside there, but just about avoided each other. But Felvis going very defensive down towards the Fogarty S as we go. This is the part where they did say they'd make a move. They have managed to get there without either of them really suffering track limits. But you'll see that Taylor really lost out. So Henriksen dives up, takes advantage, as I suspected. The 42 car goes up into 3rd place, but round the Melbourne hairpin we go, and Taylor retakes it again. Do your partner.
Yeah, this is a really enthralling three-way battle, it must be said. They have got Jordan Taylor reeling them in as well to make this a potentially 4-car train. Nicky Taylor, of course, has raced front-wheel drive cars for the majority of his racing career. Of course, this year in the Clear Cup GB, P3 in the championship, has taken a couple of race wins and podiums thus far this season. So he definitely knows how to race these cars. Very aggressive driver, though, is Nicky Taylor. He knows how to deal with the race situation. At the moment, though, it's developing into a fight for second. Josh Salvadori versus Thomas Potter, as Potter is making some pretty steamy headway through the field, already up into 9th place. But again, the tyre degradation. No one really seems to be taking a conservative stance early on. It just seems like it's pedal to the metal and go, go, go. It
really is. Oh, and there we go. Salvadori diving up the inside. Big hit there that's actually unsettled the 000 car even more than Potter. Potter's managed to keep his foot in and keep going. Salvadori's facing the wrong way. That must be a terrifying place to watch. It's horrible seeing the Mondeo, sorry, not a Mondeo, a Mando at the wrong direction there, because I was sat there many years ago, 1993, and Nigel Mansell went into the after a bit of a contretemps with Tiffany Dell, not something that we all wanted to see the year after he'd won the F1 and then the Indy cars, but thankfully he got away with that and he's rejoined. But where did he come through? 18th position after all his hard work. Nicky Taylor's looking up the inside at the Melbourne hairpin, just about avoids any kind of contact there. In the background you've also got the other of the Taylors, that of course being the number 19 car of Jordan Taylor, has got past Henriksen, so the 42 car down a place. These two still side by side. The inside line for Felvis at the moment just runs wide there, and that unsettled the car as he wouldn't have been able to complete the turn round. That's going to put the back into the clutches of Jordan Taylor. Henriksen's still there, and it does look as though the number 8 car of Joel Lask is going to get involved in second as well. And it's that age-old thing, isn't it? As soon as you battle so hard, which you're going to do, you're leaving yourself vulnerable for the cars behind.
Yeah, exactly. They're just going to be like a shark sniffing blood in the water. They're going to look at this and think, brilliant opportunity for me. Of course, we're not complaining in the commentary box. The more people get involved, the more spicy this battle gets. Of course, we approach a third of the way through this race. Up the hill side by side, Nicky Taylor tries to thread the needle, gets the squeeze from Kyle Felvis, looks to the outside, and McLean's no way through. Does he get the up and under going up towards Coppice? No. Well defended then, it must be said, from Kyle Felvis. And of course, Nicky Taylor, he's looking forwards to attack and back backwards to defend because, of course, he's got his teammate, not brother, of Jordan Taylor right behind. This is maybe where we're going to see some team dynamics at play, because Taylor could push Taylor through quite nicely. Of course, Felvis not going to go down without a good couple of swings first through the Fogarty S's. Taylor no way through, but gets the better run towards Melbourne.
Yeah, but is he going to come back the other way? Well, certainly Felvis knew it was coming, so got across not just about in time to cover the inside line. Oh, what are the teammates going to do now? It's the 19 car of Jordan Taylor trying to get past Nicky, so they're now side by side. They don't want to let Felvis get away. Lights flashing, I spot there in the background, but it is the 117 of Nicky Taylor back there in that third position, trying to look up the inside of Felvis. I have to congratulate the liveries as well. They're just absolutely wonderful on these cars. As we go down, start, finish straight, that is on the inside for Felvis again. So a masterful defensive drive we're seeing from Felvis, because he's just making sure there's no inside line. But the problem is that isn't always the quickest way, so he's not able to suddenly put in some real lap times to try and pull away from them.
Exactly, that's the thing. I mean, he's defending really well, but as soon as you start defending, they're locked in, right? Even if you've got track position, it's going to be so hard, especially if you get it over the curb and go a little bit sideways. Inside opens up. Nicky Taylor sees the gap, sends the move to the inside, pushes Carl Felvis wide. Of course, two former teammates know each other very well and giving us an absolute spectacle for the first part of this race, side by side through Coppice. Nicky Taylor gets mugged around the outside by Carl Felvis. Not often you see that in front-wheel drive cars. Nicky Taylor not quite got the metal on the straight in order to get the move done by the time they reach Fogarty S's. Jordan Taylor under pressure from Henriksen as well, as Carl Felvis defends the move going into Fogarty S's. It was a very swift attack from Taylor, but an even swifter counter from Felvis.
I got to say, that was quite incredible by Felvis. That looked like that was signed, sealed and delivered by Taylor. And he's going again up the inside. The Graves Motorsport cars trying desperately, and they were just being tagged there. Was that by Laskner or was that Henriksen? Let's just have a look. They certainly got tagged. It was Henriksen. Interestingly, by the way, the car just at the back there, number 8, who's trying to get involved of last, that car is on medium tyres, Zach. So that car has not gone out in the hard tyres they think that they need to last the whole race. So it's almost as if he's decided, well, I can't make the hard tyres last the whole race either. Why go out on the slower tyre? And it means he's now at the back of this quartet, making it a 5-car battle for second place, which is just brilliant.
And at the end of the day as well, he's, to an extent, probably just cruising at the back of this train, not taking too much out of his tyres, because the 4 drivers in front of him are doing all the heavy lifting in terms of slowing themselves down, as Jordan Taylor does a little bit of his best Colin McRae impression as he bounces his way over the grass, going up the hill into, of course, McLean's. Nicely done from Felvis. Sees it coming, and that's what I love about racing drivers, is that they constantly are learning and are changing their dynamic. He knew that Nicky Taylor liked that move going into that right-hander, so the next lap, he didn't leave the door open. So he's constantly adapting and changing his driving style to make sure he's in the best defensive position possible. Duck and dive to the inside from Nicky Taylor, though. He knows the inside works better here. The gap opens up as Felvis tries to sweep his way the long way round. They're going to go side by side. Nicely done. Felvis stays through, but there we go. Jordan Taylor gets the up and under. And what did I say in qualifying? Go side by side through the Fogarty S's, and they're going to capitalise from behind.
You're absolutely right, and that was, but I'm not sure that Jordan Taylor wanted to see his teammate be the one to lose out. But how is Felvis doing this? Has he got there's a bit of side-to-side muscle there between the two of them? But it's almost as if Felvis has got the boost button in there somewhere, because he's able to fend them off. But we've now got the Super Touring cars cubes coming out there as they get round onto the start-finish straight yet again. And what's the Felvis on the inside line? Jordan Taylor's on the outside, so he's going to have to settle for third. And it's now Laskin on those medium tyres, the number 8 car, that is trying desperately to get involved up into 4th place. And Nicky Taylor trying desperately to come back, and there's contact through a place you don't want contact. Through the crane occurs, but just about gets away with it. Henriksen is behind them, and we've now been joined by yet another one, and that is Simpler. So the number 72 car, Luke Simpler, that car's on soft tyres, would you believe? And he's now involved at the back of this fight.
Be interesting to see how much life those tyres have got left. Of course, he's closing on the back of this train. Yeah, probably. And if they've got some, it's not going to be for very long. But they're actually closing into half distance in this race. So be interested to see if he goes for 2 sets of softs, because it's not working at the moment for Luke
True.
Senra. He's on the back of this train, so why not go for the faster tyre? Oh, it's getting very aggressive from Carl Felvis. I'd love to know what that man had for breakfast this morning if he's driving like an absolute animal. Jordan Taylor, track limits maybe on the inside to get the run, but nonetheless, it's going to be side by side as they run down the hill towards Melbourne. He's got the inside line, but that's not like it stopped Carl Felvis before. He tries to go the long way around, gets muscled out wide, and that is going to invite Nicky Taylor to go underneath and make it 3 wide.
Yeah, that felt like that was the done move. Flashing lights there from Felvis. Not happy that he's been muscled back down into 4th place. And now the Graves cars are together. And not for the first time I've said that sentence. I know the Graves boys really, really well in the real world. They are a great, great team. And it's something I've seen many a time. And they've I don't know whether it's right to say they work together there, but they certainly benefit from each other inadvertently, I would say. I think it would be very clever if they managed to pull that one off on purpose. But Felvis is not being dropped by them. So he's now down in 4th position because our leader, Nathan Williams, the number 5 car, he's like 16.5 seconds down the field from this wonderful battle. But now Jordan Taylor is leading Nicky Taylor. Felvis sat there in number 1, that purple and black livery car. He'll try and desperately. He's got a trio at the moment because it looks like Lask and Henriksen have dropped slightly back. In fact, they were going side by side because Henriksen in the 42 car trying desperately to get up the inside of Lask, but not possible at the moment. The number 8 car of Joel just managed to keep going. Phoenix Sim Racing, wonderful team that are very much about dedicated to facilitating sim racing for people with disabilities, and I've got to take my hat off to that because that is a wonderful case they are fighting. You see Phoenix Sim Racing blast down the side there. They've got wide coming out of the Fogarty S's, don't they? I think that's the issue more than straight lining it. Look at the Taylors ahead. There's certainly no team orders there, is there? Oh, who's that?
That was Alfie Dean, one of the back markers, I think, maybe just putting on track to allow them through. It's getting so aggressive as the Graves Motorsport cars are going to go side by side. I think more in an attempt just to block the path for Carl Felvis to find a way through. It's been magnificent to watch this battle, and we've still got just under half of this race left to run. Nathan Williams is probably going like, where is everyone? What sort of a race is this? And it just goes to show the duality of races sometimes. Williams is probably bored. These guys are being very much kept on their toes. I'd be interested to see if we get any more contact going down the Craner curves. Of course, thankfully, in front-wheel drive cars, it's a much different story to what it would be in their rear-wheel drive counterparts. Obviously, thanks to torque steer and things, you just slam the throttle down and the car actually sort of straightens itself out, self-correcting as such. It's basically free stability control if you're brave enough to put the power down. So that's why we've seen some fairly lenient moves in terms of some nice bits of contact. But this battle I don't think is going anywhere. I'm just sort of sat here waiting for tyres to come into the conversation.
I was just actually looking. I'm so glad, thanks for jumping to this one, because I was seeing these guys back and forth, and we got that 000, the all-white car of Salvadori, was back and forth with Harry Dios, the number 63 car there. I've commentated on a few different things, actually. And he's always involved in a whole load of action, and those two were just trading places like mad, backwards and forwards. In the background is Milner, the 43 car, but just at the moment it looks like Salvadori. And of course, what did he drop down to? I think it was down to 18th or 19th place, didn't he, after that spin coming out of the old hairpin? And he's managing to just gently pick his way back up, 15th, but Dios is coming back at him. Just when you think the move's done, they can still come back nibbling at you, can't they?
They very much can, because obviously front-wheel drive cars, they're such an interesting driving style. Oh my word, what a move that was from Harry Dios. Oh, but in the end it's all for nothing, but he's managed to hold it. Third time's the charm. They go 3 wide momentarily as Milner works his way through. Salvadori as well, able to hang on to that 15th place. That was scary, and that's what I talk about Torkster. He was just able to hold the car in a straight line, somehow keep control of it. That was nearly a move of the century, but yeah, it's nice to see, of course, these guys keeping them on their toes. Thomas Potter eyeing up a move on Harley Connolly as well. This is for 8th place, but don't forget that not only do they get extra points for finishing higher up in this race, goes without saying, but they also promote themselves up higher in the starting order for race 2. So you're doing yourself a double favour by working your way forward in this race. So even though you've had some issues, say in the case of Salvadori, you are going to be doing yourself further favours or limiting the damage sort of further if you're able to pick yourself back up, dust yourself off and work forward in this race. Because yes, race 1 might be a write-off in terms of points. That doesn't mean you have to make race 2 be one as well.
I still think, at which point are we going to start seeing pit stops for tyres? I mean, we're now over half race distance. Okay, the first sort of half a dozen are on the hard tyres, but we know in the middle there we've got Lask on softs, with Sidler on the mediums, and you just sort of think, well, surely they're not going to really work. Yeah, Sidler on softs, Lask on mediums, and they weren't even sure that the hards were going to completely last for this whole thing. So I think we've still got some dynamic changes in this. But I guess what may well happen is that those that are on the non-hards, shall we say, come in and pit, and it means that those left out on there at hards are able to just maybe back off a little bit and bring the cars home. You can see that there's quite a lot of paint being traded on a few of these cars. Look at this Potter trying desperately to go around the outside of Connolly. Connolly just nicely washing it out wide, Your Honour, as they exited Redgate, the first corner at the end of the straight, the Wheatcroft straight, and just made sure that there was no way through there for Potter. But you've just got to have that patience, haven't you? Because it might not work that time round, but just regain yourself, go again, because you will catch them up, probably even before the end of that particular lap. And that goes back to your comment at the beginning, Zach, where you said patience is going to be critical.
Exactly that, especially in the way that you have to drive the front-wheel drive cars. It's so easy to make a mistake that can cost you 3 or 4 tenths of a second, and that's then when your competitor are going to be sort of licking their lips, rubbing their hands together and saying, well, bring me that position very quickly. Henriksen Bell, of course, in 6th place at the moment, sandwiched between Lask and Sintler, with 5th and 7th either side of him respectively. And again, Lask running wide, a little bit too hastily on the throttle, just understeered out wide, particularly through Melbourne. So easy to do as the car just wheel spins underneath and you just wash out wide. So it did nearly allow Henriksen to find at least an almost opening going into that corner. Swap of position here as well, as Connolly is once again under threat from Thomas Potter, who I have to say has not only made his way forwards in this race really impressively, but has also, touch wood at least for now, from what we can see, kept those tyres alive fairly decently as well. We're going on to lap 13, so they've got 6 laps left to go. Have they got enough life to get to the end? I mean, Nathan was saying, what was it, 2.5, 3 seconds of degradation? Does that warrant a pit stop with 6 laps left to go?
Well, not for him, I would say. It definitely doesn't, because his margin is 19, just over 19 and a quarter seconds, so he doesn't need to. I mean, his last lap was a 1:35.2 compared to 1:33.8, which I found that interesting, Zach. Didn't he turn around and say, well, he's on the going to be on the hard, so he won't get anywhere near his qualifying lap time? He was a tenth away from it. So he was pretty much on it, but he's now down in the 1:35s, and there's the 2-second degradation that he was talking about. Oh, and the Graves teammates, just a bit of a bump there by Nicky Taylor from the good exit from Fogarty S's. It was just a little love tap, thankfully, and everybody was okay and got away with that one. But yeah, where are we going to do it? Felvers, is that one that's possibly the number 1 car in the background there that was fighting so hard to keep the Taylor cars behind him that's dropped away? Is that the tyres that have possibly been absolutely punished in those early phases? But why wouldn't he have done that?
The thing is with the tyres, obviously, when it comes to Donington Park, we touched on how demanding it is, and the moves that these guys were making so aggressively, so early on, as a nice one there from Henriksen Bell up the inside of Redgate. It is just a case that you punish them. And then, of course, it's not only the wear, but also the temperature, right? The front tyres go through so many, well, initially they're quite cold, and very quickly they warm up because they're having to steer and power the car. And once they heat up, because you're constantly having to, put lateral load into them and also the forwards and backwards load through them as well, they don't really have a chance to just take a breather. So that degradation and that thermal deg is always just going to get worse and worse. And it's so easy for you to sort of overdrive the car as such and just make that problem worse and worse. So if you've started on the wrong foot, it's fairly likely that you're going to continue on the wrong foot. Crewdson had some issues. That's going to allow Salvatore to have a look through. They're going to drift wide through the Craner curves into the old hairpin,
Wow.
and that
was a bit naughty, that.
That is a 000 out of 10 for me.
Yeah. That was not a nice move, that one, sadly, was it? That was, I mean, he'd potentially be able to claim that he thought he'd got past and the job was done and went to turn right at the old hairpin. But I would certainly feel aggrieved if I was Cruz. And look at this, Fogarty S is side by side again, Potter and Connolly yet again. I mean, these two, they're going to start a rumour if they're not careful. They just will not leave each other alone. Absolutely amazing. And at the moment, it is the number 12 car. If Connolly gets the nod back again, but it is massively do-si-do your partner between these. And interestingly, they're not that far behind the 69 car of Smith. So Brad Smith just ahead of them in another one of the Phoenix Sim Racing cars. It's kind of got this great view in his rear view mirror of what's going on there, but needs to make sure he doesn't allow them to close up. Behind them is then the all orange number 16 car of Hoda Gray. That car is another Corporate Commando, but is a privateer. Actually, no, that's not the one that's behind them, is it? I made a note of a different one that was all orange. Tugby, thank you. So it's a back marker. That'll be the reason why I got confused there. No issue there. Oh, and we've just got a big washout there from the 38 car of Potter. That unfortunately, when you get to that point, Zach, you're a sitting duck if you've just lost momentum down at Old Hairpin.
Exactly. The exit through that corner is so vital, but also it's quite a tempting corner to take quite a bit of speed through as well. There's a slight compression as you come out of the craners, which means the car is loaded at the front. You can take a decent chunk of speed through, especially if you clip that inside curb. A slight slide or a run on the grass or anything like that, and you just bog and bog and bog, and just makes the problem so much worse. And that is what allowed, obviously, Connolly to stay ahead of Potter for this occasion. Still got 2.5 laps left to run, so there is still an opportunity for them to find their way through. Shout out to this man, by the way, Luke Sintler, on the softs. He's on lap 16 of 18, and he's running pretty well in terms of pace. That last lap time by is a 36.9 compared to a 37.0 from Joel Lask, who's just ahead of him. Has he got enough life left to fight is a completely different question. But considering that from what we were told, the softs could maximum last 17 laps. He's on lap 16, and it doesn't look like he's uncomfortable. In terms of the driving style that he's taking and the approach that he's taking, he looks okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that officially that would be borderline on it lasting 17 laps about it end, but he's not dropping away from it. I mean, the official line was that the soft, lightning quick for 2 laps, and then durable as a chocolate teapot, which I it's fairly self-explanatory a sentence, and we get that one. Just runs a little bit wide there in the blue and white 72 car there, but you'll see that he hasn't fallen away from the last car just ahead of him at the moment, at least. Well, not dramatically anyway. So if he's able to just keep going there and come in with the 7th place, what is fair to assume, though, Zach, is that whilst we said that the soft tyre is the quickest tyres, it isn't going to be any more.
No, firmly that's going to be one that drops off really quickly, which is why I would probably back the mediums. I mean, even to the extent the hards, right? Because sure, the softs are going to be quicker for 1, 2, 4, maybe even 5 laps, right? But then very quickly, it's going to be a case of, I have to make this last now. I cannot push on the tyre. Get onto a medium or a hard, and it's a case of, I know this tyre's going to last, so I can lean on it a little bit more. I can push a little bit harder and chase some of that lap time. Nice up and under there from Thomas Potter, who really has been leaning on those medium tyres to make an ascension through the field. He's got through on Harley Connolly, but again, the question remains, can he get away? Because no, he can't. He goes wide. Ooh. There's contact between the pair of them. They spin in tandem. Yeah. Connolly emerges ahead, and well, the steward's going to be busy
above our pay grade.
Yeah, that's. I'm glad I'm a commentator. Being a steward is one job I would not want at all. We get to talk about it and heavily criticise and judge the drivers, but at the end of the day, we're not the ones that issue the penalties, which is not the job I'd want to have my name on, purely because no matter what you do and no matter how right you are, someone is unhappy, exactly. And that gets directed straight to you, which I don't get paid enough to do it.
I think the officials that do have just said, yeah, cheers for that, guys. Hey, you know, we were loving you guys. We were loving you for that you're going to do a great job. But it is Nicky Taylor ahead of Jordan Taylor in 2nd and 3rd. The two Graves Motorsport cars duking it out for the final 2 steps on the podium as it stands. Oh, a little bit of a love tap there. I think that Jordan Taylor decided that Nicky didn't need to slow down that much and is flashing as they accelerate away from the Melbourne hairpin. ready to turn left on the tight Goddard's left-hander onto the Wheatcroft straight, and they're coming onto their final lap now. And it is, 22 1/4 seconds is the margin for Nathan Williams at the front. What was his last lap time? 1:35.6. So he's still being metronomic around the 1:35s. These two are still duking it out like a pair of prize fighters. Absolutely incredible. Sure, there's some frustrations there, but I hope they're sort of giggling at the fun they're having here as well, because it's just brilliant. And Potter tries to go up the inside there, but just can't get the noise pedal down quickly enough there. And it means that Connolly's able to accelerate down the Wheatcroft straight. Onto the final lap they go. Just still together for this final time of this sprint race, as our leader goes through the fog of the S's. I mean, he said he was going to win, Zach, and he's just disappeared off into the distance.
He's done such a good job as Nathan Williams. From pole, I said, are you going to win? He said, yeah, I'll see you in half. Well, I said, I'll see you in half an hour. He has dominated this race. 22.5 seconds. He's got one corner left to go. What a race this has been from Nathan Williams.
Unbelievable. Here he comes, final corner, the left-hander of Goddard's onto the Wheatcroft straight. And here he comes, the number 5 car weaving down the straight as he takes that checkered flag. A fantastic victory. Lights the flag. And what's been most impressive for me there was the lap times that have been consistent. Look at this, second, third, fourth are together. Felvis has suddenly found some extra life here. And it is the 117 car, of Nicky Taylor that has the nod and has pulled away from Jordan Taylor. It's almost like a rear gunner. Second place goes to Nicky Taylor. Jordan Taylor comes home in first, holding off Felvis, who was brilliant in that number 1 car. Henriksen 42 in fifth. Sixth is Lask in the number 8 car on those mediums, and then it is Sintler just behind in that blue and white number 72 on softs. Now we go to Brad Smith, car number 69, coming home in 8th position. Just accelerates away, fairly lonely, but the 2 behind, and it is Conley, number 12, that just holds off Potter. The number 38 car of Thomas Potter has to settle for 10th position. Ray in number 16 in 11th. And then it is the other of the Potters, number 20, Catherine Potter, comes home in 12th position. Cornelius, number 22, in 13th. 000, very eventful race for Salvadori, and comes home in 14th position, ahead of Milner, Krugson, Harry Dios as well should be coming through. We've had then Jake Wardle and Tugby that were already lapped. They round out in 18th and 19th, and sadly we did lose Dean to damage about 5 or 6 laps ago, I'm afraid to say. But incredible performance there. No fuel for Dios. So actually Dios has gone tumbling backwards and has been passed by several other cars there, and he's run out. So they can run out of fuel as well as that.
Yeah, they very much can. So they've got control completely of their setup. So it's open. That's why we've got some fairly large gaps in between each of the races so they can tune it. Part of the setup is the fuel load. Naturally, you want to keep as little fuel in the car. Still enough to make the end of the race, though. And unfortunately for Dias, he found that. But we are joined by our podium sitters, so get some juicy deets, Chris.
Yeah, here we go. So let's just make sure. So Nathan Williams, congratulations, mate. You said you were going to win, and you did. It was a busy opening foray, though, wasn't it? The start of that race was frantic for you.
Yeah, I ended up having a bit of contact going through the first corner, and then that put me on the back foot going down the Craner curves. So I just tried to keep ahead, and then luckily just through I managed to get a bit more pace through the chicane, and then that allowed Carl to just attack Nicky a bit and allowed me to get a gap, and then eventually just drive away.
No, exactly. Fair play. Now, I'm interested because you said that on the hards and in this race, you'd be nowhere near your qualifying time. You were about 1/10 away from your qualifying time, so you were able to do it, but it did fall off by a couple of seconds by the end. How were those tyres?
By the end, they're horrendous.
Really?
The last 2 laps, you're just trying to get round the track rather than do it with any pace. It helped having a gap behind because I didn't need to do anything risky, but if you're closer to anybody, it can be very risky to try and push in the last few laps.
That's fair shout, and it was impressive to see those lap times. And I can tell you now, by the way, Nathan, there was a heck of a scrap going on for second backwards, that's for sure. So you did well to be able to scamper off. And just the final question to you then, was that the plan, to sort of put those laps in early to get the gap as big as possible, as early as possible, to then be able to manage the tyres?
That's always the plan. I didn't expect it to go as well as it did. That was a shock, but obviously that's a plan. That's what I hope to do in race 2 as well.
Well done, mate. A fantastic victory. Well done, sir. What did you win by in the end? Does it tell me? No, it's already gone off of the timing that I got. So congratulations, a wonderful victory. Nicky Taylor, over to you, my son. That was a very, very adventurous race, and it took you a while to get up to that second. But I don't know whether to call it patience or just having the confidence that it would come to you at the end. But you got there, and you then fended off, hold on to second place.
Yeah, I mean, Kyle was not making it easy at all for the first part of that race. He was. I know how he races. We're good mates. We've raced for ages, and yeah, I know how he races, and he races hard. But some of it's fair. Some of the bits in that race I questioned a bit, but like being straight lined at the last corner. But it is what it is. There's also another driver who I won't name who just decided to completely straight line me at Craners, so they know who they are. But that can be sorted out afterwards. But yeah, honestly, I was just pushing with Jordan all the way through to the end. When Jordan actually got through, I was kind of relieved because it meant I could just sit back and just chill with my tyres. They were screwed right at the end, but yeah, Jordan just pulled out a gap to Kyle, and I just went with him. And then we said before the race, we can battle 3 or 4 laps from the end. So I picked my moment and just tried to stay ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the bittersweet thing, isn't it? Is that second was there, but it was third. But even that you were under pressure at the end as well. It was just, it was relentless. Carl came back at you. And it does go to show that you can make a move into some of the corners that look like you possibly couldn't. And the outside can work in these cars as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think me, Jordan, Nathan, Albert, a load of us have done so many laps and so many race run practices for this race. We pretty much know every corner that there is a send to happen and a send that we can make. So that helped me a lot, I think, because I've seen the move I've done on Jordan was one I've been able to do on Nathan a few times and some other people in practice races, and it seems to be kind of the best move to do because then their run gets screwed throughout the whole of the top section and going into the last sector. But yes, that was such a hard race because it was literally like non-stop, and I couldn't stop any of it.
No, well, you did. You got the second place. It was just a great job. Between. I want to actually ask, what's the dynamic? You are teammates officially, you and Jordan, and obviously Jordan finishing third behind you there. But it looked like you were getting pretty close amongst yourself. Is there any team orders?
There is and there isn't at this stage, because at this stage it is obviously early season, but we've just said to each other, just push with each other and don't do stupid things. And we've said we can race from 3 or 4 laps from the end, which is what we've done. And when we did work together, we pushed forward and we broke Kyle a little bit. But then, obviously, with us battling right at the end, it made him gain. But it is one of them things. We're working well together. Harley, hopefully, if he can gain some speeds throughout Silverstone and the other races, we'll be there, and all 3 of us can battle.
Papaya rules it was then. I've got you. Understood. Brilliant job. Well done, Jordan. Sorry, Nicky. That was a brilliant second position. Congratulations. Jordan, a great third position in a very, very busy race. Even down to the end, I thought that you were going to be put under pressure yet again by the person that really made it super interesting for you to race long.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think I was going to get back to a podium position. I think I dropped to P7, if I'm correct. So I wasn't best pleased, as I don't think anyone would be if you got a good start and then that happened. But I put my head down, caught back up to them, picked my moment, broke through, pulled away with Nicky, as he said. And then I was trying to set myself up for a massive switchback on Nicky. And then I think Kyle may have misjudged his braking point because of worn tyres and just clipped me. So would have been good to see if I could pull that move off. But P3 out of what the start was, I'll take that any day of the week.
Well, fantastic job. Well done. And we look forward to seeing more of the same. Congratulations on your third place, Jordan.
Cheers.
So there we go. That was the top three. As you can guess, I could have carried on chatting to them for ages, but the bosses would start lynching me. So I think that takes us to the end of those presentations at this stage. And Zach, we're going to be getting underway very shortly with race number 2.
We are indeed. Of course, it's the finishing order is now the starting order for race number 2. 18 laps back at the top. Williams, Taylor, Felvis, the front 2 rows. Very quickly, Chris, who's coming out on top in race 2? Because it's going to be fireworks either way.
I think Williams will do it again, but it's that second place backward that's incredibly interesting for me.
Let's find out. 18 laps, of course, to decide. Williams with a 22-second winning margin over the duration of race number 1. Is he going to be able to replicate it? There you can see the 6 greyed out red lights at the top of your screen. The revs rise as we anticipate race 2 of round 1 of the Super Touring 2024 Sim Series. Lights out, let's go racing here at Donington Park, and what a start that was from Nicky Taylor. What a poor start that was from Nathan Williams as he tumbles his way not just to 4th but to 5th place as they're side by side for 2nd place as Jordan Taylor versus Carl Felvis. Felvis goes through in a 2nd place, but it's Nicky Taylor that leads 3 wide as Nathan Williams tries to make amends for what was a shocking start from pole position, side by side with Henriksen as they work their way through Hollywood, then into the Crane of Curves. What can he do as he dances his way through? Now he's got to prove himself in a race environment. He very aggressively muscles his way through into the old hairpin for the first time. It's Taylor that leads from Felvis, Taylor, Williams, Henriksen. Very, very spicy as Connolly goes off the road. Side by side as they run their way up the hill as well. Thomas Potter, not waiting around for an invitation in this race, wants to make some good headway early on.
Yeah, I mean, this, I hate to say it, but as a commentator, watching Williams go back at the start there, and it's great fun for us because we get this extra side now, don't we, where he's got to work his way through this. And I have to just take my hat off. I watched him come down through the Crane of Curves then, and we've seen many others that have just sideswiped the car alongside them. But he just barely tapped the car. He's going hot into the Fogarty S's, though. And he is very close there. But, yeah, we've got to see Williams fight his way back through, which is something we haven't seen from him yet, isn't it?
No, exactly. Side by side as well as Nicky Taylor is under pressure for the race lead. Carl Felvis not waiting around to emulate what they did exactly in race 1. They're 2 rows of 2 as Williams tries to fight his way back through into 3rd place inside line of the Goddard's hairpin, works his way back into a podium position and is closing in once again on the leaders. For me, this is a golden opportunity for Taylor and Felvis to get away while Williams is struggling to work his way through the field. But they're not. They're fighting for the lead with still 16.5 laps left to go. Henriksen battle on the inside of Lascars as they battle for P5. But Taylor and Felvis, I've got to say, this isn't the smartest way to deal with the first opening laps of this race, knowing the threat of Nathan Williams closing in behind.
I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? As I thought that he was picking his way through, but Jordan Taylor is putting him under some huge pressure there. Lascars went a little bit wide there, further back on our screens, but he's only lost a couple of places, got away. But Nathan Williams up into that 3rd position, but Jordan Taylor all over the back of him. But we know that he's got the pace there to be able to get past them. And it shows, you are going to go back to what you said, Zach. You said patience is key. Are we seeing that in just its droves from Nathan Williams at the moment?
He got a poor start. He's like, okay, cool. This is the hand I've been dealt. How do I deal with it from here? I've got, 16 laps left in this race. I've got time. Why rush it? Why take risks when I know I've got the pace to win this by 22 seconds? Why? Why rush it? What's the risk? What's the reward? The risk is very high. The reward is probably going to be the same as if you'd wait 5 or 10 laps to slowly work your way forward. That is an almighty send from Dios. Goodness me. Just about gets it stopped. I don't even think that was intentional. As back underneath goes Peter Cornelius. Of course, hello and welcome if you are just joining us into the Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing YouTube channel. Of course, hope you are all enjoying the coverage. Let us know in the chat who your pick for driver of the round is. Don't forget, they get themselves a free set of 3M UK Sim Racing gloves to add to their collection. So let us know what your thoughts are and who's impressed you so far this round. Peter Cornelius with an almighty send, definitely impressive. But you guys at home, help us decide who's going to be taking home a sweet pair of gloves. Lap 3 of 18, a 6th of the way through thus far. Nathan Williams making some good inroads onto the 2 leaders. Have to say, I'm impressed with Thomas Potter and how racy he's been in terms of carving his way through the field. on the hards as opposed to the mediums for this race, but nonetheless, he's just pushing all the same as he was in race 1, potentially knocking on the door for what could be a top 5.
Yeah, I'm just looking, and it would appear that we've only got just one car actually on mediums. So it's almost as if they learnt a lesson from that first one, isn't it? Which is surprising because we did see a few cars making it last, but maybe they're exhausted from making those tyres last, and they're determined to go for it a little bit harder this time. We've got a dive up the inside there by the number 12 car. So Connolly gets past the number 20 car of Catherine Potter. So it doesn't matter where Connolly is, he's involved in some cracking battles, but that was a nice clean move there this time round. And down in towards the left-hander of Goddard's, and Lask is now under pressure from number 38, Thomas Potter. And we know that Thomas Potter's prepared to throw one up the inside where necessary. But the bad news for Lask is that Potter doesn't need to look backwards because there's quite a gap before we get to Salvadori. So he's going to be looking forwards. But we could get some teamwork between the cars ahead of him potentially.
Yeah, exactly, as that's wide from Harley Connolly in this battle with Hayden Gray and, of course, Catherine Potter in behind, all on the same compound of tyre. So no major dramas in that one. Connolly, though, very much on the limit down the hill, very much over the limit going into the old hairpin. Nice little save, but definitely going to be costing him a lot of lap time, especially in a front-wheel drive car. This is the battle at the front. Nathan Williams on the back of the two leaders. Nicky Taylor's been able to breach away ever so slightly from Carl Felvis. Obviously, Felvis knows how to defend. I think Taylor's banking on a pretty standout race for second so that he can get as far away as possible and limit the threat from the number 5.
An interesting possibility has just been offered as well on the tyres, because I was saying about how Josh Salvadori is the only driver that is out on anything other than hards, and they're mediums, not softs. And so the possibility is saying whether they gambled on the tyres, those that weren't on hards, in race number 1, to attempt to get a better grid place for this race number 2. I mean, that's a very bold move, but I guess, you know, these sprint races, they're hard to point of feature races, so why not, especially as they managed to make them last through it and get themselves a better place here and try to then move up forward as Williams gets up into second place against Felvis. But Felvis, we know full well, is not going to take that one lying down.
Very much not so. Carl Felvis is punchy. Did make a slight setup tweak just before race number 1. Definitely didn't slow him down, let's put it that way. So let's see as the steering wheel decides to not join us today, probably due to some FOV settings. Don't know what your stance is on having a steering wheel when driving in cockpit view, but Carl Felvis is very much a get it out as he pursues second place with Nathan Williams. Of course, be interesting to see, because if you're Carl Felvis, and you look at this and say, Nathan Williams has just won this race. He got pole by 0.7 of a second. He won the race by 22 seconds. Why should I fight him if I've got a chance to sit in a slipstream, knowing how important slipstream is, as Nathan was telling us just after qualifying, sit in a slipstream, close in on Nicky Taylor, and then be aggressive to fight for the lead?
Yeah, and the other one that was coming to my mind is that Nathan's interview afterwards is, despite his dominant victory, his tyres were shot even on the hards, but he was able to back off, wasn't he? Because what did he end up finishing? Something like 19 seconds clear of the rest of the field. Well, he's not got that luxury this time, Zach. He is actually having to push those tyres from the get-go, and for probably a lot longer than he had to in race number 1.
Exactly, all because he unfortunately got a poor start, whether it was not building up the revs too much, which you can sort of understand, because if you sort of dump it into first gear, the way it works in AC is you can't put it into gear before the lights go out as such, so you can't have it in gear and hold the clutch. You have to build the revs and then put it into first gear, so you can't be gradual with the clutch biting point or anything like that. It is just a case of having the revs exactly where you need them. And if you're sort of not trying to dump the clutch and wheel spin to lift sort of the front end of the car up, which is never ever going to get you a good start in front wheel drive car, because the front end lifts up, reduces obviously the load on the front, giving you even less traction, which makes the situation even worse. He probably was on maybe the more safe side with a lower rev, and then in doing so just sort of bogged down off the start, so was almost too safe. That's my guess. Probably might be something ever so slightly different. The bottom line is he got a poor start. This is what he's been dealt with. and now it's on the back foot. Because in race 1, like we said, got the pole position, got a good start, ran away with it, happy days. Whereas now he has to be working so hard for it, and in doing so, going to be working the tyres even harder. And I'm not being funny, I don't think Nicky Taylor is going to roll over and get his belly tickled either, considering he most definitely wants this race win.
I like that. That's a good. That's a good description. Suffice to say that last time round is that he lapped half a second quicker than Nicky Taylor in the lead, and that margin is only 1.1. So you're saying within a couple of laps he could be up there with the race leader. And I've watched the moves; they're good, clean, patient moves. So I think he's possibly just keeping his cool. A question for you, Zach, then, because it actually jumped for me at the start. I didn't quite see the start on my feed. Do the drivers occasionally have that, and could that have been the issue for his race start as well?
Maybe. Screen freezes and things like that aren't uncommon in sim racing, but even if your screen freezes, you're still in the server, right? Even if your monitor blips for a second, you're still able to input and influence the car. What can sort of sometimes happen is what we call maybe netcode, where the other cars on track are in a different position to what you are. So maybe, and this is really clutching at straws here, there was a slight delay in his lights going out compared to those around him. I don't want to say that's the case because I have absolutely no evidence to back that up or prove it or whatever. What my very professional, because I'm a commentator and I definitely know what I'm talking about, opinion is a skill issue.
Fair enough. Harry Dios, sadly, we've lost him. He's disconnected from the server, so he's out of the race. The game has crashed, I'm afraid to say, on Harry, which is a shame. But look at this at the moment. Goodness me. So the 69 car of Brad Smith sat there in 6th position at the moment. Lask ahead in the number 8 car, just pulling away slightly in 6th. But look at Potter again. Potter almost like Potter goes looking for a fight with someone, doesn't he? Because it's been race long last time, and he's embroiled in yet another one. But this time it just happens to be with Brad Smith.
He's not backed down. He's not been scared to go for a fight, which I love. Obviously, comes from a karting background, which, to be fair, probably quite a few of these races will. But Potter obviously still on that, alongside his sister as well, Catherine, who is at the moment running quite well in 12th for her first race as well, was able to do that in race number 1. Also, both of them sort of are sharing that journey, that progression through karting, and you've got to be so on it at karting. You've got to be so switched on. The racecraft mentality has to be there, and especially when you fight at the top levels, when you get sort of into British Championships and European Championships and X30 and Rotax and things like that, you're in a pack of sort of 4 or 5 cars, and in that situation, it's got to be, when do I attack? When do I defend? When do I sort of have to then turn up the wick ever so slightly to avoid being overtaken? Sam Milner, unfortunately, slowly recovering himself out of the gravel. But I think that karting experience is really helping Thomas Potter here. And I think, conversely, racing in AC is then going to help him in karting. So they sort of go hand in hand in supporting each other. So Potter's experience is helping him in bucket because all of that decision-making, he's done 100 times before.
Although, I have to put that into context, Teapot, as he's affectionately known, is 12 years old. I mean, that is just mind-blowing, isn't it? But we do also know that by 12 years old, they've done quite a few, they can have done quite a few years' worth of karting. So Teapot is doing a fabulous job there in 8th position, the number 38. But we have now picked up the race lead. Look at this one, is that Nicky Taylor, that margin has just been disappearing, and Nathan Williams in the number 5 car directly behind has just been patiently pulling in, just taking out, it's got half a second every single time. Now they're suddenly matching because they're joined together. Where's your money then, Zach? Where do you think that his first lunge is going to be?
Well, whenever the door opens, really. I don't think he's. You can tell I'm sitting on the fence here.
Yes.
I don't think he's too fast, to be honest. I really don't think he's sort of eyeing it up and saying, I'm going to do it here. I think it is just going to be a case of when is convenient. But then again, as he's running his way around the track, he's looking and observing and saying, I'm quick into each of these corners, and already I think we're locked into a battle. I think his hand is going to be forced here because Nicky Taylor has gone defensive. Nathan Williams was late on the brakes there, and now we've got the two leaders locked in a battle. Could he look to the inside? Taylor, of course, moves over to the left-hand side to try and cover it off. Are we going to see Nathan Williams maybe find his way through into the lead? Don't forget, we've still got half of this race left to run. It is going to be Nicky Taylor that emerges out of the final corner, still ahead of Williams, but like I was saying, he's observing, he's gathering data. Where am I quicker, where am I slower? And that's going to affect his decision making as to where he makes a move.
Oh, and he's just ran a little bit onto the grass there, didn't he, as the wide sweep was taken in towards Redgate, and he just lost the rear end slide, and you can see how much space that's lost him. Down through the Craner curves we now go, and throw the anchors out the back for right-hander of Old Hairpin. Just fairly equally matched through that part. I wonder whether that's going to be a place where he might lunge, but we head up through the strong curve and into the right-hander of McLean's. Nice sweep move through there. Take the pace down the straight towards the almost double apex right-hander of Coppice we go now. Up the hill, blind apex for that first one because of that rise. He's got a good run through there, a little bit wider from Nicky Taylor as he's probably trying to be aware of what's coming up behind. We now come through this tight fog. Yes, it's flashing the lights. Look at that. You can see on the back of Nicky Taylor's. I'm not sure that's going to put Taylor off there, to be honest with you. He's probably chuckling at the effort. But that was a good run through there. Nathan Williams even, through the fog of DS's. He's now going to try the switch through up the inside. But in fairness, Nicky Taylor saw that one coming and just parked it on the apex. So there was nowhere for Williams to go. That was impressive from both of them.
Yeah, it was indeed. This is a hard-fought battle, but incredibly respectable between them. Nathan Williams, you saw there, that inside rear wheel just lifting up ever so slightly. Of course, front-wheel drive cars, a lot of that load goes to the outside, and you can often, because of everything being at the front, the engine, the gearbox, the drive shafts, the diff, as Will Cruton, unfortunately, again, another victim of this run, out of the Old Hairpin. Jake Wardle nearly joins him. But because everything's at the front, the rear end is pretty much always light, especially because everything is stripped out of a race car. There's no seats or anything to hold the rear end of the car down. So it does lift up, and sometimes that's actually what you want because it shows how much of the limit that you're on. You're throwing the car through and maximizing that cornering speed. So Nathan Williams obviously on the back now of Nicky Taylor, as he has been for a couple of laps. They've got 3 seconds back to Carl Felvis, which gives them a little bit of wiggle room here to fight, especially because we've got a decent chunk of this race left to run. Nicky Taylor gives him the squeeze into Coppice, opens the corner up, sweeps his way around the outside. Nathan Williams doesn't quite have the confidence or the gap to thread the needle through the inside there, but this opportunity, this battle was won by Nicky, but the war is far from over in this race.
I've got to say, actually, I don't think that was confidence or grunt to be able to do it. I think that was very high driving standards compared to Nathan here, because he knew that the pinch was going to be on and he would send Nicky Taylor spinning off, and that was not what he wanted to do. He knows that he can win this. He's looking around the outside. That's not going to work. Try this quick back this time round. And he's just waiting, putting himself in the places. The opportunity's going to come, but he doesn't want it to be in a questionable way. Again, look at that. He just made sure that he didn't make contact with the rear of Nicky Taylor's car. Very impressive Nathan Williams racecraft here. Okay, he's still pulling out the flashing of the lights to see if that's going to work. I'm not sure that's going to work with two races. Is it the flashing of the lights? Does it really put them off?
It can, because...
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. You become so fixated on what's going on behind you, sort of similar to, as you would in real life, really, sort of any distraction that you make, and it puts a seed in their brain that says, are they going to send it?
Yeah,
are they not going to
true.
send it? And you're constantly then doubting yourself. So much so that, similar to sort of that false move to the inside, where you sort of kind of look and then sort of phantom shove them to the outside because you forced that mistake. It does a similar effect to that. It just puts that thing in the back of their head where they're not too sure, second guess themselves, and then make a mistake. Sometimes it can be used to convey messages like, I'm not going to battle you, or if you're a lap car, it's get out of my way right now. So there are different messages you can convey, but if I was Nathan Williams, it's, you might as well, if you're on a straight, give him a couple of flashes.
Yeah, It's worth it, isn't it? And I mean, look at this again. That's a cracking exit through. This is the one. He's got himself up that inside line. Nicky Taylor's coming over too late. And there is the bump and bore there, but surely that's too late. Here we go. Nathan Williams up the inside. It was that run through. Fogarty Essence was so quick, and into the lead he goes. Absolutely brilliant. He knew, he was being patient enough to know that it was going to come. But look at that in the background now. Oh, we've got Nicky Taylor trying to come back again. And he needs to get a move on now because Felvis has joined in. Such was the battle between those two. We know that the number one car is prepared to show his nose in places. Really, really impressive. Tom Farrell's actually said that flashing absolutely can put you off, like you said. But you can turn the lights down on the PC. That's not fair, is it?
Same for everyone, but they should lock it. Just have them at full glare. Be interesting when we get to brands, obviously, because that's going to be a night race. So see if we can maybe have some light games there. But obviously we've got this battle firmly in the daytime, which means we definitely can see everything that's going to be happening. Nicky Taylor, though, he is not backing down at all. He knows how important these moves are. Sends the move to the inside at McLean's. That goes horribly wrong. Through goes Williams back up the inside, and Carl Felvis as well is able to thread the needle. But you can understand why Taylor went for that. Knowing how much quicker Nathan Williams is, if he saw a gap, you can understand why he'd send the move.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one because he probably didn't need to. Nathan Williams is going to pull away now. I know he's going to want to go for the lead, but we know that Williams is lapping incredibly quick, and that was very, very late on the brakes, to say the least. And yeah, that's a shame. But he will come back at Felvis because we saw these two, and of course the Jordan Taylor. That you can see the background there. Three of them were having a great one, but Nathan Williams has probably benefited nicely from that. Sadly, we have lost Harry Connolly, the number 12 car, has pulled into the pits and is down as a DNF. But the good comment that's just been made. We're about to get into lap traffic in a second, Zach.
Yeah, we are, which is going to open the door for a little bit of intrigue. And of course, if you're Nicky Taylor or Carl Felvis, you're looking at that going, please slow him down, please. Just get in his way, even if it's half a second, just let me get on the back of him. And then equally hoping that you catch them in a good place. And we talk about it all the time in endurance racing. Traffic gives and traffic can take. It does go both ways. And this is where experience is going to come in. Of course, Nicky Taylor has raced in the Endurocar 24-hour of Anglesey in 2024. He's dealt with lap traffic in plenty of situations, as I'm sure the majority of this field have in one way or another in terms of sim racing. So again, they've got that decision-making locked in. It's just a case of how effectively can they work their way through. How nice are the lap traffic going to be as well as, oh my goodness me, Henriksen not being very nice in terms of threading the needle through the gap. Joel Last, though, able to get back underneath as they run their way uphill towards Coppice. These guys, like, it's so respectful, but just so hard fought. They don't back down. They're not scared to have a little bit of a ding-dong.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that is the one thing that I've really enjoyed about my dalliance with the sim racing is that people are prepared to do that now, but it's so highly policed that you can't get away with too much. So it's that wonderful balance you get to see in this particular race. It talk about balance. We've now got interesting that Williams has not managed to particularly pull away yet, has he, in the lead as we go on to lap number 15 now. So we've only got 4 left to go, and he's about just over half a second, but it's not quite the pull away I was expecting. I guess, like we said earlier, Zach, is he's had to take a lot more out of his tyres than he wanted to.
Yeah, or he's still in conservation mode, because naturally he, like you say, had to use more of them to catch his way back through. This is a battle between Luke Sintler and, of course, Josh Salvadore. Both of them have been really impressive thus far today. Let's see if the 000, of course, that white machine tries to go to the outside. In fact, the up and under works better through Redgate. The sweeping nature of the corner prioritises the exit. He does get the drive to potentially pip Sintler to 9th place. However, does the blue and white car back out? He does in the end. The 72 falling victim as the lap traffic. That's nice of them, obviously, to just, you know, back out and completely let off. I think they're actually fighting for position as well. Cruton versus Tugby. Henriksen Bell fighting with Lask. So wherever we look, there's something going on that's interesting.
And I noticed that Wardle took advantage of that. While they were playing nice, Wardle just went, oh, fine, I'll go past you both. So he's up into 16th place in the number 3 car. But yeah, we're on with Joel Lask at the moment in 6th position, the number 8 car. Through the Fogarty S's onto the Melbourne Loop we go, as they go thundering down towards the tight right-hander of the Melbourne hairpin. You can see that Henriksen just misses the apex completely there, but he's now able to get the power down, and that's just thrown Joe Lask. He was sort of teased into the possibility, and it just made him wash out wide, and it means he needs to be careful. A Teapot behind him now, the 38 car, is right on the back of Lask. Again, I used the phrase earlier, Zach, darned if you do, darned if you don't.
Exactly. Josh Salvadori on the inside of Sintler. These guys sort of suspended in a bit of a no man's land where they're in their own little pocket of racetrack. So they're free to fight and no real consequences for fighting a bit too hard and losing too much time. Yet, maybe there's the opportunity for Gray to come through, but 9.5 seconds back, I don't think that's really realistic. But you're right in the sense that if you don't fight, you're going to be overtaken. And if you do fight, you're going to be overtaken. So it's a case of, well, what do you do? What decision is the best one to take? And obviously, you've always got that dreadful thing that we call hindsight, but it's that split-second decision that can make all the difference in a race as intense as this one, especially when we're only going to have 2 laps left to go at the line. Small mistake there from Thomas Potter, going to cost him a little bit of lap time relative to Lask. But if he's able to sort of hunker down, get his head down, and churn in some good lap times, there is the possibility for a top 5 if he's got the tyres.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess we always need to remember the battles here. There are some pretty significant prizes up for grab, thanks to the relationship with Pro SIMRIG in particular. And, you know, they're going to be going for it. And granted, it's the first round. There's got to be a few of them that are maybe not used to fighting with each other. And so they're having to get used to that this time round. And especially when you take it in this race compared to race 1, Zach, we're seeing some familiar battles happening, but there is a few that are involving drivers that weren't battling with each other in race number 1.
Yeah, and the level of competition that we've seen for this entire round, I've got to say, is really impressive. So I'm looking forward to tracking this season as it goes through. Obviously, we're starting now at the end of summer. We won't see the conclusion until sort of the midpoint of January in the new year, so it's a long one, but it gives these drivers a chance to develop the car. Of course, speaking to Nicky Taylor, he has no idea what's going on underneath that car in terms of setup, so he's really relying on Graves, but obviously with big gaps in between each round, he might come to understand, okay, I can stiffen up the anti-roll bar a little bit, try a little different sort of suspension geometry settings to try and find some lap time, tweak the car. So from the pace that we're seeing here at Donington, I think is going to be vastly different to what we see in Alton Park in a few months' time.
Yeah, it's that's what I like. The pick of circuits that they've got for everybody here is going to be a whole range of skills they're going to need. Felvis up into 2nd. Did I miss that one? Did we talk about that? The fact that Phelps is up into 2nd ahead of Nicky Taylor now? Apologies if I did miss that.
He has been for a little while, purely because I think Nicky Taylor just... he went wide.
My apologies.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. We've been there, we've done that, we've got the T-shirt. It's purely because they haven't been battling at all. Obviously, now we're on the final lap, it might be a little bit of a different affair because can they catch Nathan Williams? Probably not. Now it's a case of who's getting 2nd.
Yeah, and it does look to me as though Nicky Taylor's coming back at him again. And we saw Felvis come on late in race number 1, and it looks to me like Taylor's trying to do the reverse this time. Jordan Taylor's not in this fight, is he, unfortunately, for him? But Nicky Taylor definitely is. The 117 car heading up to McLean's right-hander is determined to get up onto the second step of the podium. But Felvis, having not made it onto the podium last time, does not want to relinquish this place.
He does not. Of course, Carl Felvis in 2nd. Nicky Taylor just in behind. These two came to blows a couple of times over the duration of race 1. Now it heats down to the final lap of race number 2. They've got a decent gap behind them. They're free to battle, but a poor run through the Fogarty S's from Nicky Taylor. Purely committed was Carl Felvis, and I think that is going to seal the deal in this fight for 2nd place. Nathan Williams, though, it's all eyes on him because despite a poor start, this man dominated qualifying. He got a sensational run through race number 1. Are we going to see a send from Nicky Taylor in the background? I don't think so. So we'll hype up Nathan Williams as much as we can, because what a night that this young man has had. He rounds the final corner and takes 2 from 2, does the sweep here at Donington Park, takes the checker flag, and Nathan Williams tops the round here at Donington Park for round number 1 of the Pro SIMRIG Super Touring 2024 Sim Series. It's Felvis from Taylor the podium, and what a battle that was throughout the entire 18-lap bout that we had. Williams dusted himself off after a poor start, dropped to 5th, climbed to 1st, and took the flag. A fight all the way to the end for the top 5, as Henriksen was able to take the final place inside of that one. Thomas Potter in the end, not quite good enough for him, as he has to settle for 7th. Again, another race inside the top 10. It must be said, a very impressive drive from him. Salvadori recovering nicely after issues in race 1, started 15th, finished in P10. That's impressive. That's an impressive amount of oversteer, I've got to be honest, across the line from Salvadori. Don't know if he's allowed to do that, but it looked cool, let's put it that way.
Not the quickest line, is it?
No. Looks cool, though. It's style points.
Yeah.
Style points all the way. So, of course, what a race it has been. Sam Milner in 14th, just waiting for the last couple of cars to work their way through across the line. I think we are just waiting for Milner, and it's been such a good way really to open the season. And of course, we are now joined by Nathan Williams in the commentary box. Nathan, you said you were going to win race 1 after qualifying. After that start, though, talk us through what happened with that one, because you dropped down to 5th place. What exactly was the issue that you couldn't quite get right compared to race 1?
I think, to be honest, I was so focused on getting the lights and the clutch and everything and how much throttle that I just forgot to put the car into 1st gear. To release the car when the lights went, and I was just stuck in neutral.
That is suboptimal, to say the least. But from then on, what was your mentality? Obviously, dropping back to 5th, did you sort of know that you had time on your side to make those moves up, or was it a case of, I need to get some places as quickly as possible?
I knew on pure pace I had the chance, but it was very dependent on how everybody else drive. I was luckily able to get past Jordan and Albert quite quickly, and then Kyle let me through, I think, because he saw he was dropping a bit off Nicky, and just let me through to sort of drag him along, which obviously ended up working very well for both of us.
And then throughout the rest of the race, I mean, it was just a case of consolidation for you. I mean, what does this sort of put in your mind for the rest of the season going forward? Are you confident that maybe you can go for that championship charge after doing the clean sweep here at Donington?
Obviously, yeah, I'm very confident. Obviously, loads of things can go wrong. Obviously, I've been quite lucky tonight, but you can have incidents and a ton of things go wrong, as well as just different characteristics may suit the different cars in the championship or different drivers.
Have you had much testing in sort of the other cars? Obviously, you're in your one. There are, I think, 4 chassis to choose from. What are sort of those main differences between them, and where do we expect maybe you could be on the back foot?
So I think the car I'm driving, the Gojira, has a lot of straight line speed, but puts a lot of work for its tyres, which makes it very efficient in qualifying. But it just suffers from tyre wear a bit too much throughout the race. So I'm thinking we'll have tracks with long straights will be very efficient, but more tracks with more curves and bends will be on the back foot with tyre wear.
Always going to be difficult when there are multiple chassis, but does make it very interesting from our perspective. Nathan, of course, you got pole, you won race 1 and you won race 2, which means that we are going to confirm you as our driver of the round, which means you get yourself some lovely 3M UK sim gloves to add to your collection. A nice little trinket to round off what has been a fantastic week for you.
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Well, thank you very much for jumping in and having a chat with us, Nathan. Best of luck for the rest of the season. And we'll work our way down the podium, of course. Kyle Felvis, who was able to tip Nicky Taylor to P2. Kyle, welcome in. Just shy of the podium in race 1, but a more sort of quiet race for race 2, and you were able to reap the rewards with a 2nd place.
Yeah, it was an alright 2nd race. Race 1, I decided it was a great idea to change my setup just before the race, and
as you do.
I pressed the wrong buttons on the setup, and that made the car a lot worse than it was in quali. And then it was a defense game, and like Nicky said, we've raced loads together, so any move that I thought I knew it was coming from him because I know exactly how Nicky races. Same with race 2 when he was trying to catch Nathan. As soon as Nathan trying to catch him. As soon as Nathan came, I knew that Nicky would be trying to defend it, and I knew what he was going to do.
And that sort of previous experience with each other, I assume, probably definitely helps you both in terms of attacking and defending each other. Probably makes it quite difficult for both of you because you can sort of anticipate what's going to happen next, but equally the other guy can also anticipate it. So always makes for some interesting battles. Are we going to expect to have more of the same as the season goes on?
Yeah, probably. I mean, me and Nicky were like-minded people. Any moves, I think about, he'll think about. So anything we both try to do, we both try to do it at the same time. So it'll be good racing between us. We're not used to racing each other. Normally we're working together, but this season the battle's on.
And where do you think you're going to place come the season's end? Obviously, a lot to do in terms of setups, loads of different tracks to take to. Obviously, going to Spa and Imola for some European bouts this season. I mean, how do you rack up against a really competitive grid, do you think?
Yeah, I think that's the thing with this series. The open setup, yeah, it's a great idea and a great concept, but I think, me personally, I'd rather be put into a series where everyone's got equal machinery with an equal setup, because it allows for a lot better racing. Like, me myself, like, this is my excuse, I'm not very good at setup. Obviously, I'm going to learn this series, but I know there's a lot of people that will be even worse at it than I am, and a lot of people, like Nathan, who will be a lot better at it than I am. So, I think for a series to be competitive and close, and to actually have really, really close racing, everyone near the top, yes, there was a lot of battles throughout the grid, but I think a fixed setup for me is definitely preferred.
Yeah, very much so. Well, I mean, there's probably a lot of lessons for you to learn as the season develops. Thank you for coming in and having a chat. Congratulations on P4 and P2, and best luck for the rest of the season.
Cheers, Zach.
Thank you very much. And finally, the final step of the podium, a really consistent night for Norfolk's own Nicky Taylor. Very well done tonight. Very hard racing throughout, and a golden opportunity for you at the start, but in the end wasn't meant to be. I mean, that move into McLean's for you, was that sort of that do or die last chance moment to get ahead of Nathan?
Yeah, I mean, after practicing with him for most of the week, I know he's absolutely rapid, and I knew the minute he got past me, or I know the minute from when he stalled or whatever on the grid, I knew he was going to be straight back with me at some point in the race. So I was just thinking, the minute he gets close to me, I'm sending it wherever I can to try and stop it, because it's not going to happen. But yeah, that was just a tough one. I think I cooked my tyres early, and then I had track cuts, and all my track cuts used up with 8 laps left. So you could see it every time when Nathan was catching. I was so much slower in the chicane because I was just being so conservative to not do them again, which I think aided his catch up even more. But yeah, him and Kyle were really clean, and I can't fault either of them for that race.
What are your biggest takeaways from sort of this week of action? Obviously, like we were speaking with Kyle and yourself as well, when it comes to the setups and learning how to change the car and sort of suit it to your driving styles. Are there any big lessons that you've learned from today?
Yeah, obviously, I'm quite lucky in the fact of I have Jordan, who sets up his dad's Clio in real life and sets up cars, basically is what he does. So I'm quite lucky in that regard that I've got him to kind of find a decent size setup, and then I've tweaked it a bit to suit my driving style, because his driving style and my driving style are two polar opposite things. But the way he's created sort of a base for me is brilliant, and I can just adjust it to what I need. And I can't thank him enough for what he's done with the setup and everything else. And I think he's just become unlucky tonight. He's been right on the pace, and he was as quick as me, Nathan, and Kyle all week. So he'll definitely be back at Silverstone.
So who do you predict to be up there then? Obviously for next week, Silverstone being a really fast and flowy track, but only doing the one race with the strategy, of course. Today tyres were a big talking point. Are we going to see a similar dynamic in 2 weeks' time?
I don't believe so, because unfortunately I know for a fact for our car, and I think for the Ford as well, we're just going to be hard, because we can't. The mediums for us run the same, from what I can test, and from what me, Nathan, and all the others have tested. The mediums do the exact same laps as what the hards do, but they die a lap earlier, so they're just not worth it, and they get their times fall off a cliff a hell of a lot more than what the hards do. So I think for most of the championship, you're going to be seeing all the ascents doing hard, and even with the forwards, as you've seen with Joel and some of the other forward lads, they've been mediums all night, which I feel bad for them because they feel like the mediums is their best tyre because they can't get the hards to even come up to temp. So I think for them it's either going to be medium or medium soft possibly. But yeah, there might be a little bit of variety at some tracks like Alton at the end of the season with it being 30 laps and it being quite a long lap. But yeah, I wouldn't expect to see there be too much variation.
Should be very interesting. Well, thank you very much for jumping in, having a chat with us. Congratulations on some consistent podiums this evening, and best of luck for the rest of the season.
Cheers, thank you.
Thank you very much. Nicky Taylor, P2 and P3 over the duration of this evening here at Donington Park. Chris, of course, we are going to be bringing the show to an end, but 2 races, 2 absolute belters here. Of course, that's just for the first round of 8. In 2 weeks' time, we'll take to Silverstone for a couple of weeks later, heading to Spa for our first European bout, and then probably one of the biggest challenges of the entire season, 50 laps around Brands Indy, a short circuit, plenty of cars, and the added challenge of the night. We spoke about lights here today. Imagine what it's going to be in the pitch black. Round number 5 for sort of that second half charge into the season. We head to Italy, to Imola for 29 laps for our third feature race round before we head to Castle Combe a couple of weeks later for round 6. The penultimate round sees us just before Christmas, where we take to Croft for 2 more 18-lap races before rounding off the season. A perfect way to start the new year in 2025. 33 laps at one of the best racing circuits, not only in the UK, but in the world as well, where we'll crown our champion and hopefully see the fight go all the way to the end. And Chris, I got to say, it's been a pleasure. Obviously, nice to meet you. It's been our first time working together. It's been all right. I mean, this evening has definitely delivered in terms of racing action.
Oh, it's been action throughout the entire field, isn't it? It's one of those great things I love about sim racing is that we actually get to suddenly hone in on those battles that are happening and really enjoy it. And it has been. The racing has been there. There's been a couple that have been a little bit rough, but most of it has been so exciting, and it's the kind of thing that would really attract a crowd. And you've got to take your hat off to the drivers for that. Take the hat off to the organisers for putting on over 20 cars round this Donington Park GP circuit. Has dished up 2 wonderful 18-lap races. More of the same, please.
Yeah, let's bring it on. Thankfully, like we say, we've got an entire season of racing left to enjoy for the Pro SIMRIG Super Touring 2024 Sim Series. I messed up, not even on the tongue twister bit of the championship. Get used to it as the season progresses, ladies and gentlemen. My name has been Zach Sweeney. Chris Dawes has been alongside me in the commentary box. Tom O'Farrell has been behind the scenes, of course, making the broadcast look lovely and pretty. Mick Sutton, of course, our series organizer, and getting a nice easy day as he usually does, being a safety car driver, able to watch along in the YouTube chat, which of course, thank you very much for joining us. It's been an absolute honor to call all of the action here for round number 1. Of course, make sure you like, subscribe, and maybe turn the bell on to stay up to date with all things at PASR, and hopefully maybe we'll see you at some MSV events around the UK, not only this year but into next year as well. For myself and Chris, we'll see you in 2 weeks time when we head to Silverstone. In the meantime, it's goodbye for now.